Introduce this first person. She is a force to be reckoned with in our House of Delegates, and I cannot wait to see what she does for the next year, next 2 years. So please welcome Danielle Walker.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Oh, come on. We are great in numbers right now. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I am Delegate Danielle Walker. And we hold that title because it is not my title. It is not a selfish title. It is the people's title. And we are the people. The time is right now in 2020 that a change is here to come. A change will be here to stay. And that change starts with each and every one of us. See, it goes beyond just going to the ballot box. That's the easy part on November 3rd. But it's about having those hard conversations with your family and friends, making sure that they are registered to vote. So we always look at the top of the ticket. And this time in 2020, we're not voting for the less of two evils. We are voting for people that is going to bring back what we need here in our mountain state. So I'm here this evening, proud to stand with Paula Swearengin. I have stood with Paula as she has stood with me in 2018. And you guys all know, we are mountaineers. We are always free. But there are some folks that feel that it's necessity to keep their knee on our necks. So there are some folks that we need to give some pink slips to on November 3rd. And we do this by educating our neighbors, our children, our co-workers, the businesses that you support. See, right now is not a time to be afraid to say, I am a Democrat. I do support the blue wave. I will support working families. I understand we have an addiction crisis. I will respect my houseless neighbors. See, that time is right now. We will no longer say, I don't see color.
Yeah, that's right.
Color blindness is not helping us in 2020. I need you to see me. I need you to respect me. I need you to protect me. And I need you to vote as if you love me. And just as you see me as a black woman, we need to make sure that we are putting the right women in these elected officials. We need to make sure that we are signing the petitions so we can have those debates. See, Paula and I signed a pledge and a platform that we are very proud of. We will not run away from a debate. We will not take corporate money. And we will not sell out West Virginians. Now, I know Paula and I have done a few rides together. And I remember stating, I can't be bought. I won't be bought. Don't count my pennies, count my priorities. And my number one priority is placing West Virginians first. So I welcome you to walk with me. I welcome you to walk with Paula, Mary, Natalie. Walk with us in 2020. So you not only invest in a name, You invest in your legacy. You invest in your future. You invest in your education, the economy, and our great mountain state. I am Delegate Danielle Walker. Thank you.
So right now in West Virginia history, we're making history. For the first time since women were given the right to vote, exactly 100 years ago, all 4 of our congressional candidates are not only women, but they're progressive women who refuse to take corporate PAC money. And I don't know about you, but that gets me really excited to vote for these women in November. So, and you're going to hear from one of them, their campaign manager right now. Mason Arbogast is the campaign manager for Natalie Klein, who's running in the 1st Congressional District to be your Congresswoman.
So I'm quite obviously not Natalie Klein, and I can't do the justice that Natalie can do by standing up here and talking to you all, but I can let you know a little bit about Natalie and a little bit about what your vote is going to do this November, right? So David McKinley, our current incumbent, has been in office since 2010. He is running for a 6th term, which we think is going to be his final term, as House of Representative members get a lifetime stipend after their 6th term in office. David McKinley has 97% of his donations from corporations. He has under 400 individual donations. Natalie Klein is sitting right now at around 2,500 donations, individual donations. And while our financial numbers are not nearly the numbers that David McKinley's are, we do know that every cent that we have raised and every cent that has gone towards this campaign have come from people like you and have come from real West Virginians. And so when Natalie is on the floor of Congress, she's going to be thinking of you. When she's voting, she's going to be thinking of you. A few other things, just real quick. David McKinley's net worth, and I promise I'll get off David in a second. David McKinley's net worth is over 100 times that of the average West Virginian. He is the 34th richest member of the United States House of Representatives. He is clearly out of touch, and he clearly does not understand what the average West Virginian experiences every single day. Natalie is a mom of a 6-year-old boy, and is a very hardworking wife, and she also works for a logistics and data security company that does like security stuff. I don't know, ask her. But the point is that she understands. When she moved to DC a few years ago, before she had her son, and once she had her son, she came back because she knew that she wanted to raise her son here in West Virginia. She knew that this was the place that she grew up in and that she loved, and she wanted to share that as well. When she came back, though, it's not exactly the way that she left it. Our people are in need. Our representatives aren't listening, and it's a very scary time. You're in a very unique situation. So I will leave you with this. I've been talking a while. Natalie is going to work for you. She's going to work for the Green New Deal. She's going to work to make sure that nobody ever goes without Medicare or medical insurance again. She's going to bring broadband internet into the state, 100% fast, reliable, fiber cable internet. She is going to promote STEM field opportunity. She supports UBI, and she's pro-union. Natalie's a fighter. That's why I joined with Natalie. That's why I believe in this campaign. And I hope that you can believe in it as well. If you ever have any questions, if you ever want to get involved, please reach out to me. You can email me at mason@nataliekleinforcongress.com, or you can send me a text or a call at 304-564-8189. I'd be happy to chat. And then if you want to learn more about Natalie, after I kind of told you what the other guy was, you can go to nataliekleinforcongress.com, and there's issues and endorsements and all kinds of candidate stuff on there. But yeah, so it's time, y'all. It's time for West Virginia's first to put West Virginia first, and that's going to start on November 3rd. Thank you.
So I know that you guys have heard me introduce people, but you probably don't know who I am. My name's Kaylin Barker, and I've lived in West Virginia my entire life, all but about 6 weeks, because I was a surprise baby in Florida when my mom was on vacation. But I've lived here my entire life, and I just graduated with a master's in public administration from West Virginia State University, which is a tiny little school in Dunbar, West Virginia. And I'm now riddled with over $100,000 in student loan debt with 0 job prospects. You know, when I graduated, I went to school, I did what everybody told me to do, went to the state, was really excited because I was like, I'm definitely gonna get a job with the state because I have a degree to do that work. And applied for a job, entry level, to be I have a history degree before my master's, and applied to work at the State Museum as a tour guide, making about $23,000 a year. Entry level. I have plenty of experience, and was told I was underqualified for that position. So I understand, students, I understand what you're going through and how scary it is to leave college and go out into the job market looking for, what you've spent the last 4 to 8 to 12 years of your life doing, studying and getting ready for. So, and that's one reason why I support all 3 of the congressional candidates and then Paula Jean for Senate, because they understand how hard it is for real West Virginians, not, the David McKinleys and the Shelley Moore Capitos of the world. Shelley Moore Capito can stay at home for 2 weeks on quarantine and not have to worry about losing her home or feeding her kids or anything that normal West Virginians have to worry about on a day-to-day basis. That's why I support these women, because they support real West Virginians and they understand the real plight that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And they're going to go to Washington and they're going to fight to make our lives better, not to line their own pockets, not to make CEOs richer or corporations richer, but to help us get ahead. It's not just about surviving for us anymore. We want to thrive. We deserve to thrive. And that's why I support these women, and that's why I'm really excited to be here and to introduce these women, especially our final speaker tonight, who is somebody that I respect greatly and will just absolutely lose my mind on November 3rd when those poll results come in that she has taken Shelley Moore Capito out of the upset of the century. So, without, I'm sure you don't want to listen to me talk anymore. I will introduce Paula Jean Swearengin, running for United States Senate, about to take Shelley Moore Capito down in November. Woo!
Hi, y'all. Whew, I don't know if years ago that I would be the Democratic nominee for United States Senate, I probably would have thought you were crazy. But I became woke about 15 or 20 years ago. When I was little, I drank acid mine drainage, and all my family coal miners. My dad, my stepdad, my grandpa, 45 years in the coal mines, proud UMWA member, died of black lung, and I'd been to more funerals than I had family reunions. And I drank that acid mine drainage when I was a little girl. My stepdad, during one of the boom and the bust of the market, he got laid off, and we moved to North Carolina for a while, and I didn't know I wasn't a redhead until I was 12 years old because of the polluted water that we had. When I came back home, I found out a lot of people across West Virginia didn't have access to clean water. And industry and our government was bidding us against each other for basic human rights. And I got mad and I got active because I seen my neighbor's children get cancer. And I spoke to the United Nations. I lobbied. I cried. I got so radical one time, me and 7 other women, coal miners' daughters and granddaughters like myself, shaved our heads at the Capitol to be so radical just to get attention because we're like, hey, we want clean water and we want those jobs too. And why can't we have it? And why are we always 49th and 50th in opportunity? And so I got tired of begging, so I decided to run for office. And my opponent, Shelley Moore Capito, she's there in office because of her political dynasty. And she's a mother, she's a grandmother too. And I've asked her, and you have to ask yourself this question. She's funded by big coal, she's funded by the gas industry, she's funded by the pharmaceutical industry. And as a mother and grandmother, how can she turn a blind eye to the children and dying and starving in this state? The Industrial Revolution was built on the backs of West Virginians, their families, and surrounding communities. And people in the coal fields, up in the eastern panhandle with the decline of Weatherton Steel, people are living in impoverished conditions comparable to a third world country. Not only are they living in places that have cardboard windows, but they still don't have access to adequate sewage systems. And so that shows the real problem. We have went through decades and decades of poor leadership that serve corporations and lobbyists, and they don't take care about us. We are plagued with one of the largest addiction epidemics in the country. We lead in drug overdose in West Virginia. And how can we trust these people to invest in long-term recovery solutions when their main focus is to give money back to the people that have shipped mass amounts of pills in their communities? And one thing that I do know about West Virginia, we are some of the most hospitable people in the world. I'm a proud Democrat because I stand behind Democratic values, and we have to make sure we get Democrats to the polls. But we also have to cross that line and reach out to our neighbors and be the most hospitable people that we've always been. If I ask my neighbor for a wrench, he doesn't ask me if I'm a Democrat or Republican. He brings his wrench and he comes over and he helps me. That's what we do. We've seen, we're the heart of the labor. People have been organizing, like the Mother Jones, the miners of Blair Mountain, Mate One, Joe Hill. We've seen an uprising in 2018 with our teachers. And now we had over 93 candidates that are ordinary people like us, like me and Danielle and Natalie, that run for office, because who better to serve us than us? West Virginians, we're already solving our problems while these people are pandering our lives away at the Capitol in D.C. And 53 of those candidates won, 43 or 53 won their primaries. And the amazing thing, like Kaylin said, we have 4 women that are ready to bust the halls of Congress wide open and making sure that West Virginians have a seat at the table for a change. Because not only are West Virginians hospitable, when I met Daniel Walker, I knew one thing that we had in common. We are mothers, and we are grandmothers. And it is not about a party affiliation when we're begging for our children to have something so basic as a clean glass of water.
That's right.
We stick together when we worry about our children having cancer every day. And we are going to come out of the belly of best, kicking and screaming. We're going to be mothers. We're going to stand arm to arm, and we're going to take the lives and the future of our children back. And we've seen it across the country. Go to brandnewcongress.org. There's a whole slate of candidates, just like myself. It's just like West Virginia. Cori Bush, was homeless. She's a leader in Ferguson. She won her primary. She's going to Congress. You just wait till she starts raising hell on the House floor, and I cannot wait to go there with her. We are in the fight for our lives. Our campaign, my opponent has over $3 million in her campaign coffers, so less than 2% is individual donations. We have raised over $1 million with this campaign, and the average donation from individuals has been $26.30. We almost outraised her last quarter, and that's because West Virginians that had to leave have donated to our campaign, and they're investing time to volunteer. We have people all across the country that all eyes are on West Virginia. They know our plight, and they know that we're struggling, and they're trying to help us. And it's time for us to help ourselves, invest in ourselves, start making phone calls, start sending postcards, start talking to your neighbors, talk to your friends. Let's win these campaigns and make sure that we have true representation for a change. It's up to us now. It's go time. We're less than 40, 50 days until the general. We can win this. Let's continue to unite our fight, and let's be the West Virginia that I know and love and I fight so hard for. This country girl does not want to go to D.C. It's about survival. And when I'm there, I want to raise 6 tons of hell until we get what we deserve for a change. So I'm going to give the mic back to Kaylin, and we're going to open it up for questions from any of you guys. If you want to learn about our campaign, you can go to paulagene.com. And right now, we need every person that we can get on the horn to make phone calls so we can make those impressions and reach those people to vote. Thank you so much.
Does anybody have any questions for any 3 of the candidates or candidate representatives that we have here with us today? Any questions at all?
Yeah, I got one. Actually, this one's for both Paula Jean and Delegate Walker.
Wait, you can do it. I was gonna say, we can't hear you.
Hey, hold on back. So this question's for Delegate Walker and Paula Jean. So we, as a country, have become incredibly partisan polarized, right? We have gotten to the point that Republicans will not listen to Democrats, and Democrats will not listen to Republicans. And obviously that is a very broad statement, but generally that is true. Or at least from my perspective, that is true. So that has caused us to stall in our government, and that has caused us to stall the progress of our people. So the question is, how do we get back to the point to where we are working as a unit, as citizens of America, as people? How do we get back to that point instead of this whole they are against this, they're against this? You know, how do we get back to being people first?
Actually, I hear this question a lot, and it goes back to the movement that we're creating. We don't have to agree on everything, but as representatives, we have one sole purpose, and that is to be the representatives for the people and not corporations and lobbyists. We have to have people that we elect that are sitting down and actually doing their jobs and delegating and making decisions for us. And it's just that simple. And we have an uprising across the whole country, not within our state, to make sure that we have a government like that. Our government was founded by the
On the House side, we vote together because it's about placing West Virginians first. But we also need to make sure that we are not storytellers. I don't want to be a storyteller anymore. We're going to be some truth tellers from now on.
That's right.
And we're going to share our platforms for the people. We're going to bring the people to the platform so they can share their truth. And it can't be misconstrued. So when we listen, we learn. And when we learn, we can lead through the policies that will put West Virginians first. It will bring diversity, inclusion, and equity to our mountain state. It seems simple, but it's some change. Because that means that we have to let go of some things. We have to let go of the systemic racism. We have to let go of the xenophobia. We have to let go of the misogynistic ways of what government first started from. We must understand our past and acknowledge it. To stand today and be changed for yesterday, today, and tomorrow. This is how we make the change. Thank you. Any more questions? I know y'all have some questions.
I'll do another one just for fun.
She was busy. Oh, yeah. We keeping everybody safe.
Alright, so talkative bunch tonight. So I'm gonna have to pull up some background information for this question, I think. But so Delegate Walker, this one's kind of focused at you, but Paula Jean, it's also applicable at the federal level. So if you want to chip in, that would be cool. But so right now, cannabis is a big topic, and the legalization and/or decriminalization of cannabis is a big topic. And I came across a I don't know what you want to call it, a petition, I guess, called the Normalization of Cannabis Act. And so I am going to read a few things from this, and then I want to hear your thoughts on it. So what this would do is it would remove cannabis from a Schedule I drug, and it would decriminalize throughout the entire state, expunging the records of nonviolent criminals dating back to 1937. Additionally, it would establish this framework for taxation of cannabis that is needed for legalization. It would allow adults over 21 to grow up to 12 cannabis plants for personal use, and then 36 plants for hemp. Would increase the level of THC to 3%, yada yada. I'm going to put this petition on Paula Jean's live stream. So what are your thoughts on cannabis reform, the legalization / decriminalization of cannabis, and what kind of like restrictions, I guess, would you have?
Simple. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yep.
Count of 3. 1,
2,
2.
3.
Go Green, West Virginia.
Woo!
We have jails and prisons that are overpopulated. If you're going to look at the COVID-19 DHHR dashboard, please do not forget those folks that are inmates. You know, the folks that we only count as one positive? Because evidently they're not a whole person. You know, those same folks that had that one carry of cannabis that will spend the rest of their lives in prison behind bars. Something that we use for medical use today. We say that our state is poor, but yet we let the corporations get rich. They took your coal. They took your timber. They're taking your oil and gas. You mean to tell me you can't go green, West Virginia? Why? Because the everyday West Virginian will have a chance to finally buy a pair of boots so they can have bootstraps to pull themselves up. We are tired of being barefooted. So yes, we need to change the schedule. Yes, we need to decrim. And yes, we need to get those folks that have been incarcerated over this bogus, twisted charge out of there. But they shouldn't have to leave there empty-handed. You have taken their labor for pennies on the dollar, West Virginia. You have made them make license plates, your beautiful furniture and cabinets in your homes. And I can speak truth to power because I went to Mount Olive Prison. You don't even give these folks the medications that they need if they're not in cahoots with the pharmaceutical companies. You are not taking care of your people, West Virginia. And I feel like you can count them in a census, that we should be able to count them in voting also. Let my people go. Thank you. Oh, y'all got me heated up here today.
I love that. Because I've said many times, you can't pull yourself up by the bootstraps if you ain't got no boots. Well, this ties into economic diversity. And that's something that's really, really important to me. It's a matter of time that cannabis is going to be legalized on a federal level and decriminalized on a federal level. And if West Virginia would see economic growth within 6 to 8 months, if we legalized and decriminalized cannabis, so it gives us a boost to economic diversity, so why not? And you know, there's so many things that can happen for West Virginia, and I can tout my ideas, but what it comes down to is we need visionaries for a future instead of visionaries for our demise. We have potential for renewables in our states. We heard propaganda for a while that the sun don't shine and the wind don't blow in West Virginia, but that is not true. We have a lot of potential for geothermal. We have, with our dams and our rivers, we have a lot of potential for hydropower. Hemp is a cash crop here in West Virginia. We already have farmers tapping into the agriculture of that, and also we can use it for geothermal, and we can actually do something with abandoned mine lines and mountaintop removal sites with hemp. If we have comprehensive broadband, my opponent, we've heard about Capitol Connect for 5.5 years, and it shows how disconnected she really is. Right. Because we have not seen it yet, and it's always been just a political talking point. She wants to privatize broadband and let them sell us out to the highest bidder. And we've already seen that companies have gotten state and federal funding to expand our infrastructure here, and they spent that money out of state. Broadband should be a public utility. Yes. We've seen with the addiction epidemic, not addiction epidemic, which would help with the addiction epidemic during COVID right now, but with COVID, the COVID epidemic, that we need broadband for our education. We were already expanding digitally. It ties into our education. It ties into our infrastructure as well as our communications. And I will fight to actually bring broadband to our state. It's not going to be a political talking point. If we have good roads, we have good schools, we have a good infrastructure, if we pay our teachers and service personnel well, we can invite business to our state. There's so many things that can happen for West Virginia. We just have to elect people that are going to make it happen on a state and federal level. And I'm going to go to D.C. and I'm going to fight for federal funds to come into West Virginia because we're not asking. We deserve that. When people turn on their light switch, it's because of the blood of Appalachians. We want our piece of the pie too.
That's right.
Any more questions?
Andrew?
Yeah, I'll take a crack at it. Thank you very much. I wanted to know about one specific industry. I've been in the state for not very long, but I've been into quite a few, and this has to be the most beautiful one I've ever seen in my life. What about expanding tourism? And how about benefiting from that? Because I see some counties making a lot of hay out of that, and I feel like there's so much more to be made. Who would like the mic?
Actually, guys, tourism is our top industry in the state. And it's a shame. New River Gorge is the largest arch bridge in the United States. We have Minden, West Virginia near it with PCEs in the soil. So people come up to West Virginia and they raft in toxic water. They were going to mountaintop removal mine near the gorge. And how can we increase tourism in wild and wonderful West Virginia if we don't protect our most valuable resources, which our most valuable resource is the people here. But nobody's going to want to come to West Virginia and raft in polluted water, worry about the air that they breathe, and it's here, guys, and we have to protect our top part of our economic infrastructure, and that is tourism. And even in the southern part of the coal fields, there's not a stream that's not been impacted by coal pollution. Who's going to want to come here if they're afraid to drink the water? I've given people tours. I actually was running around with this lady that was filming, and she actually seen some of the water in the coal fields. She didn't bathe for a week. She was scared to bathe. So why are people going to come here to that? So we have to make sure that we invest in the Reclaim Act on a federal level. Do not let them take minors' pension and health care out of the AML fund, the Abandoned Mine Fund, and actually make industry pay their damn bills. And make sure that they do clean up the sites that they leave behind. It's as simple as that. I am a coal miner's daughter and granddaughter, and I'm proud, but coal is not going to come back. As the biggest lie any politician can tell, there's been no just transition, and I am a coal miner's daughter, and I'm going to fight for every coal miner. I'm going to fight for every West Virginia. I'm going to fight for every coal miner's daughter and granddaughter and child, but I am not going to sell my soul to the company store.
Fed up, fired up, fed up, fired up, fed up, and we fired up. We talk about tourism. It's fine for people to fly here, but when they get off the plane, the wheels on the bus go flat. Because our roads ain't no good. How you going to bring the people to tour and the people who live here can't even travel? So what are we selling to the people when they come here to tour our beautiful city? Why does the education system take our children out of this beautiful state and bring them to other states for their field trips? So we need to start investing in our own so we can take care of our own. See, when the jobs go down, it is our own fault, because I'm not understanding why the school systems is bringing our children to Ohio and Maryland for their field trips. I'll tell you something about West Virginia. Our foundation is strong. It is called Almost Heaven, West Virginia, for a reason. And so why do we continue to pollute heaven? Why do we continue to have toxic waters? Why do we continue to breathe this polluted air? And why is our health care so bad in the process? Many of our West Virginians here that live in North Central has never visited the southern coal fields. Where's our tourism? Where's the buses? I want to see our 55 counties. So West Virginia, let's get our acts together. We can't say all mountaineers are free, or we've never heard the truth of each and every one. Eastern Panhandle, you are welcome to the Northern Panhandle. You are welcome to Central West Virginia, and you are welcome to the Southern coal fields.
That's right.
But until we break these barriers and boundaries, tourism, beauty in the eye of the beholder. Make sure the wheels on the bus don't go flat.
That's right.
So I actually have a question for Danielle. Don't go nowhere. So, you know, in the state, as far as hiring practices go, I'm sure that you know that it's a mess. But one of the big issues that people like me, young people, have is that we have a lot of heads of departments that retire, get a pension from the state, and then get hired back on as a contractor to still run that same organization. So they're double dipping in the pot. And then that leaves $20,000 a year entry level, tour guide positions for those of us that are trying to, raise our families and make a living in West Virginia, when these are people that have already done all that. And it's time for them to move on. Like, I hate to say it, but it's time for them to move on. Once you retire, it's time to go. Make a place for other people to be able to do the same thing that you've done here. So, I mean, what can be done about that to make it to where young people can actually get those nice pensions and that nice health care and those things that all these people have had all these years, and not have to fight at McDonald's for minimum wage to flip burgers with a master's degree?
Great question. First thing we need to do is get rid of right to work.
That's right.
That would be the first thing. Bring back prevailing wage.
Yes.
We need to have a livable wage.
Yes.
So minimum wage is not 8 something. It's actually $15 an hour. And we make sure that we have opportunities to cancel the college debt.
Yes.
And we work with people in DC because we are one. Government, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness varies to each and every person. But what hurt me the most is the pension that our educators get.
That's right. Yep.
And I understand why they have to go back and be substitutes and homebound teachers. That should be criminal.
Yes, sir.
And whoever is allowing and signing those checks, they should be incarcerated.
Yep.
Because these educators have given blood, sweat, and tears to our future leaders who sit here before me today. We wonder why our population is leaving, but we can't pass simple things like the Fairness Act. So maybe if we give those pink slips to those elected officials, that may be your friend and your neighbor next door, but they vote against your children and your grandchildren every day, stop voting for those people and call them out. You know, the same people that you may go to church with that has retired but now has a contract position, maybe on Saturday you should bring those same people in so they can uplift, elevate, and empower young laborers into the system.
That's right. That's right.
See, I don't understand how the rich is getting rich and the poor is making them richer. Without us, there would be no you. So we need to band together. We know how the unions did it. Why has strike and walkouts become a derogatory term? We know what the coal mine wars brought. Now the company store could have changed its name. And it could have changed a different type of business. So West Virginia, when will you tell the company stores no more whether it's that retired person, who your buddy, who is that elected official that you chose to vote for, stop telling them how to bid on a job.
That's right. Yeah.
When are we gonna actually let our unions do their job?
Yeah. Right.
It's time to be rid of a lot, West Virginia. And it is time that we have a state that not only has equality, because that ain't good enough. We fighting for equity on November 3rd.
So just because, I have a question for Paula. I've done a lot of these town halls with Paula so far, and I've never heard anybody ask you about this, so I'm going to throw it at you. You only become a billionaire by exploiting one of two things, labor and resources.
Yep.
There's literally no other way to become a billionaire but by exploiting people or their resources.
Yep.
So, in Congress, I mean, do you stand with Bernie Sanders on the billionaires tax and say and making those people pay their fair share?
%, and also behind the federal jobs guarantee on a federal level. And we've not even talked about health care for West Virginia. The majority of our state is on, because of our population is elderly and because people are so sick in this state, the majority is already on Medicare and Medicaid already. And I am an unforgiving advocate for Medicare for all. And there's a couple, thank you. There's a couple of different reasons. One is it would help small business when we, not only help the sick people and the elderly people in our state, because people on Social Security, they get a raise on their Plan B plan every year, but then their deductible raises, and so they just keep on inching into poverty, and they keep on inching into starvation, basically. So it's a disservice to our elderly with our healthcare system right now. Medicare for All was more comprehensive. It provides vision and dental. It's actually been proven that it will save this country money. It will also help small business in our state as we talk about economic growth, because it takes the undue burden of high premiums off of businesses, and they can put that money back into their employees and their business. And it not only makes moral sense, but it just makes economic sense. There's so many people in this country that have health insurance, but they don't have health care. And it's a disservice that you have such high deductibles and copays that you still can't even afford insulin. And I want to touch base on something that my colleague Danielle Walker talked about on a federal level with $15 an hour. I don't exactly agree with all my colleagues on just $15 an hour, because people in California, they're dealing with one of the largest homeless rates in the country. West Virginia, $15 an hour would be life-changing for a lot of us. But we need to look, when we're talking about raising the federal minimum wage, that we look at it as on a state-per-state basis, because $15 an hour would not get somebody off the street in California.
That's right.
And that's the thing. We have people like Danielle and myself that we're working tandem, and we can. And when I go to DC, I'm not standing up here saying I know everything. I'm your savior. I'm not. When I go to DC, I want to make sure that people in the front lines of our communities and our leaders in their capital have a seat at the table and help me write legislation on a federal level, because it's our lives that are impacted. We know what it's like to live from paycheck to paycheck. We know what it's like to be overwhelmed with student debt. We know what it's like to beg for clean water. My opponent probably never wondered where her next meal will come from. So how can we look at her to be responsible? Even now when we're pushing our children back into school, she's coming back and having fundraisers with Jim Justice, $25,000 plated fundraisers, $11,500 for a photo op, and I'm standing out here in a shelter in Morgan County, and you will not have to get arrested in my office when I go to DC to hear from me, because you're going to be there with me. Does anybody else have any more questions?
I'm going to graduate this year, and I want to go to law school. And I honestly don't even plan on getting bar certified here. And most of my friends, like especially the liberal ones, don't want to stay here, even though we love it. Like we really don't want to like raise our kids here because of, like the way things are and like a lot of the culture. And seeing like women like you guys around really gives us a lot of hope. I was just thinking like, I don't know if you had any like reasons for kids that are graduating college to stay here and like raise their families here, because it's not looking too good.
I'm going to give you an honest answer. I used to beg my kids to stay here, now I ask them to leave. And that's why I'm standing up here. And that's why I give up my life to run for office. And right now, I can't tell you that I think it would be beneficial for you to stay here. But you have people like us that are trying to fight so you can stay home. Anybody else?
When you talk about homelessness, it just reminded me of today. I went to a homelessness encampment in Morgantown. I've never experienced that before. It really like opened my eyes. And I know you just like to talk about the minimum wage. I was wondering what like your plan or like open to Danielle as well to help end the homelessness crisis.
Well, we have to quit, first of all, stigmatizing poverty and addiction. And making sure that everybody has a true path to the American dream and prosperity, and having representatives that are going to, we have a large part in our state too that are veterans that are homeless. Here we're begging our children to leave. We've not, these men have went to war and they don't have nothing to come home to.
That's right.
So we just have to have people that are going to sit down and collectively actually want to solve the problems, instead, again, fighting for corporations and lobbyists, because that's what it boils down to. We are one of the richest countries in the world. We don't have a budgeting problem, we have a moral problem. And we have to build from the bottom up and not the top down.
So I'm going to answer both your questions. Yours was, how do we keep you here? I am so sick and tired of giving corporations write-offs and credits. And we give no one from higher ed anything but a piece of paper and thousands of bills. So we need to give you a credit so you can start building your family's future. and safe, affordable, accessible housing. And as far as our neighbors who are fighting homelessness, we need to stop with the mentality of what we consider a home. That is their home.
That's right.
And so maybe we need to look locally and do away with some of those ordinances. Maybe we should make sure that we just don't have the agencies that they need and the health care that they need just in one part of town. And then when they travel through that part of town, you don't want to see them. You don't want to feed them. You don't want to clothe them. You don't want to give them no health care, no mental health. So the only thing we keep doing is looking at them as if they are a nuisance. And I don't understand that, America. It goes beyond West Virginia. It goes beyond Diamond Village, where my friends live in their homes.
That's right.
We have to get out of that mentality that you need 4 walls and a roof. Because a roof over many of our children's head is a car, is a ditch,
About ready to fall in.
is a backyard, is a home that may not have any flooring, any heat, any electricity or running water. So where's the transitional services? See, it's one thing to have organizations and social workers, but I never get to see those social workers at becoming directors, and secretaries of the DHHR, the people that have pulled themselves through home and home and have seen some horrific things. We never put the people that needs to be in those decision-making positions. The only thing we do is not pay them a livable wage. We don't respect their jobs. But yet and still, we want our young folk to thrive here. We need transitional services. And we need to get to know each and every one of those people because they are individuals. We need to understand what makes us human and what makes us people. And that takes time. But because of who we are, and because we live in the land of the free and the home of the brave, we want instant gratification. And when that doesn't come, oh, they're lazy. Oh, that doesn't come, that can't be a veteran. Well, why can't it be? Do you remember what you did to him when he was fighting for your and my freedoms? We have to look beyond of why folks choose. No, they don't choose. We choose for them. The income requirements for Medicaid, SNAP, TANF, and kinship is disgusting.
Ridiculous. Yes.
You never even give that person a chance to get their first paycheck before you cut them off their SNAP benefits. And then you upset because they send their children to school hungry. And then you mad because the educator has a pantry in her room. See, this is all intersectional. And the only reason why I know, because I listen to the truth tellers, so I can learn and lead. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
have one simple question. How do you think is the best way to us, for all of us, as Americans, as West Virginians, to hold these people accountable in every single systematic oppression that we face, that holds us down every single day, each and every one of us, except for the very few 3% women, you know, I mean, because it's just sickening.
Will you repeat the question to people out there?
When will we hold those who govern us accountable when we deal with different levels of oppression? Help me out here. What else it was?
Yes, because it's at different levels.
Because it's at different levels. Well, y'all ready?
Yeah.
Just because you didn't vote for them, it don't mean that they don't represent you.
Yes.
And because they represent you, they should listen to you. And they should listen to hear and not to respond, because together. See, I'm tired of this round table talk. Because I never get a seat at the round table.
That's right.
But I'm telling you, I don't even need an invite in the room, because I'm coming in.
That's right.
And you know why I'm coming in? Because I was the people's choice.
Right.
And we're talking about a people's government. See, we are for the people, by the people, but most of all, we are with the people. Because I am one of the people. Now, that's the only group that I'm going to be associated with, is the people. And so when they don't answer you, guess what? Look up the address.
Yep.
It's public knowledge. If they have a P.O. box, find it. You guys take turns in waiting to see who's going to answer it. Call their offices. Don't be afraid to call their homes. I give my cell phone out publicly. 304-702-0647. Because they are mine. I am your delegate. Those 60 days in Charleston, I'm not a part-time delegate. You call me anytime, anywhere, and I'm coming. And just like I can do it, working 3 jobs, starting my day at my first one at 3 a.m., I want to know why the heck can't they?
Yes.
And they are retired. And they are getting their pensions. Accountability. When we are united in solidarity, they can't break us because they didn't make us. So do your job. It goes beyond you showing up on November 3rd. Do your job. When they make a vote that you don't agree with, you call them and you rip them to shreds.
Yeah.
Do your job. You write those newspaper editorials. Do your job. You put them out there on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. Do your job. This is how we make the change. Y'all got me right there. Go ahead, Paula.
I feel like, hey, you're it. Well, we already know it's a big club and a big tent, and we're not in it. We're not a part of it, and they're trying to do everything we can. You know, Delegate Walker just said it. Hold them accountable and do all the things that she said, but also continue to do what we're doing. If they ain't going to do their job, take it. Take their job, and then you do your job. But we're also changing by running against them. And some of these incumbents are really entrenched and they're hard to get out of office. Like one of my colleagues, Alexander Ocasio-Cortez said, it takes 100 of us to try in order for one of us to win.
Yep.
So if you're not satisfied with what your government's doing, and if you can run from local office to federal office, every position is important for the will of the people to be done. So if they don't do their job, you hold them accountable, you run for office, you scream to the mountaintops, you show up at their offices. Hopefully we'll get people elected in the future that we don't have to get arrested to be heard. That's the thing. This country was built by the people, for the people, of the people. We need a body of government that are the people. The people that are in pain should be in front of the power. They can take their big tent and go somewhere else.
That's right.
Any more questions? No? Okay. I may have to move to Morgantown just so I can vote for Danielle Walker, because ain't nobody that exciting or anywhere near that exciting running in my district. So, kudos to her. But if there's no other questions, feel free to reach out to us. Danielle's got her, gave her your cell phone number. Paula's more than happy to do the same. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
304-894-7472.
304-894-7472.
7472.
It's Paula Jean Swearengin cell phone number. So reach out to them, talk to them, ask them questions, give them ideas, tell them your concerns. Fly paper airplanes into their offices if you have to. Make
You
sure.
don't have to fly.
Not at y'all's offices. I'm talking about the people that are already there. You might have to fly a paper airplane at least Shelley Moore Capito's office. So yeah, thanks for coming out with us tonight. I hope you guys had a good evening, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.